When Epic Games revealed the first preview of Unreal Engine 5 last year and gave free access to the first early beta access to the Unreal Engine community this year, I totally freaked out how good everything looks and how crystal clear, sharp, fine details came to life thanks to Nanite, and how realistic darker areas, shadows looked thanks to Lumen, and both while being extremely efficient with resources that even the PS5 can handle this extremely realistic looking graphics. The advantages UE5 has over UE4 for game development are gigantic. But how much of a difference does it make to VTubers like me? You may be surprised, but the impact it has for VTubers and filmmakers is not so dramatic, and there are even disadvantages for VTubers. Let me share my thoughts on this and why I'm still using Unreal Engine 4 most of the time. First of all, FPS. While gamers love high frame rates and a crystal sharp and smooth picture, this is not what people are used to when they are watching movies or YouTube videos. Movies are shown with only 24 frames per second. Most YouTube videos do have 30 frames per second. And yes, some YouTubers make 60 frames per second videos, and I have a feeling that it can get more popular in the future, but I'm still using 24 frames or 30 frames per second. And it's still the standard. Well, I'm thinking about making videos with higher frame rates, and that's why I'm really interested in what you guys like better for YouTube videos. 60 frames per second or 30? Let me know in the comments below. You may ask, what does FPS has to do with Unreal Engine 5? Well, it's very easy. Thanks to Nanite and Lumen, you can get very high picture quality without squeezing out your system resources, and you can still perform with higher frames per second. But not only do we not need high frame rates as VTubers, we especially don't need them in real time. So the real-time FPS affects us filmmakers even less. More about that in a second. Let's get to the next point. The sharpness of Nanite. Nanite makes use of a new mesh format and render technology to render pixel scale detail and high object counts. So this will make everything in Unreal Engine look extremely sharp, crystal clear with a high level of detail while using only a fraction of the system resource as you would need if you would create the same sharp objects in Unreal Engine 4. And there it would probably be even close to impossible to achieve the same level of detail. So I believe Nanite can be very interesting for VTubers and virtual humans in the future. Since it's still necessary today to really reduce the size of virtual humans so that they work within Unreal Engine, you really have to optimize the mesh of virtual humans right now. Nanite for virtual humans would be groundbreaking for that reason. Bringing all the details of the skin of human beings in real time to Unreal Engine. Wow. But right now it's just not there, and who knows how long this will take. More about my estimate of the timeline in a second. So, the thing with Nanite in the current build of Unreal Engine 5 and how it's likely to be released within Unreal Engine 5 next year is that it's used in rocks and stone landscapes and some other objects. While I believe that it will come to foliage, plants, trees, flowers and so on, this can be very interesting for some kind of filmmaking with Unreal Engine, but most of the times filmmakers and VTubers work a lot with blurry backgrounds. Can you see that my background is a little blurry? I make this to give more depth to the image, to separate the background from the foreground, so there's really no need to make it sharp. This would just cost unnecessary system resources. As I said, I can imagine that there will be Nanite for virtual humans in the future, and this would be very exciting. And there are already even rumors and first information that there will be something called Meta Nanite. So a Nanite for Unreal Engine's virtual humans, meta humans. So if Meta Nanite would come, this would be really amazing. So let's say Nanite comes to meta humans next year. It's still hard to say how long it will take to get Nanite for objects and characters created outside of Unreal Engine. This would be also very important, but I can imagine that we have to wait for Unreal Engine 6 to get this on our hands. So right now, We filmmakers and VTubers love blurred backgrounds, and Meta 99 is just not there. The next point has to do with lumen. And I want to talk about contrast. When it comes to filmmaking, you usually tend to make use of high contrast pictures. While you can argue about that if you really want to do that, this is what I personally like. I just like high contrast pictures. It gives my shots more depth and makes the overall picture more appealing. The thing is with lumen, in many cases it makes darker areas brighter and brighter areas darker. This looks definitely much more realistic, and it's incredible how well this works. But it's not the look I want to achieve for my videos. It takes away all of the contrast, a lot of the contrast that I love so much. Yes, it's not realistic to have these hard shadows, but Unreal just looks so good with more contrast. I just love it. And let's say I want to have more realistic looking shadows, I could simply make use of ray tracing. It looks very similar to lumen, and yes, it costs much more system resources, but it really makes no real difference for me since I don't need to save system resources and can use the expensive way of using ray tracing when I do my render. And that brings us to the next point. And we had this before, but we need to cover it from another perspective. System resources. What both Lumen and Nanite do is saving system resources. Saving system resources for real-time work like playing games where you control the gameplay in real time. For games, making use of these efficient tools is literally a game changer. But since filmmaking and making VTuber videos is linear and not real time, there's really no difference or advantage of these features. We are building our scenes, we are doing all the animation work, set everything up in sequencer, and when we are ready to render, we just turn on all the expensive features like high resolution, a lot of frames per second if you want, and ray tracing for more realistic shadows, and boom, click render and grab a cup of tea. It really only affects real-time work, so no advantage for VTubers like me. Instead, there would be some features I would love to have and that I'm sad that they didn't make it into Unreal Engine 5, at least not yet. I'm talking about animations and timecode. First, let's talk about animations. I know I'm crazy with my VTuber videos that I'm importing a 10-minute long full body motion capture animation with hand, fingers and facial animation including eyes and tongue. But what do you think? How long does it take to import an animation like this into Unreal Engine? I do have a very fast PC with an RTX 3090 and a 24-core Threadripper processor. What do you think? 10 minutes? 30 minutes? 90 minutes? No, it's a day and a half, 32 hours, and I can't do anything else with my PC in the meantime. If you optimize it, you can get it down to 2 hours, but something strange is happening here. Because if you take the same animation and break it down into 2 parts, you only need 6 hours instead of 32. So Unreal Engine seems to have a problem with animations longer than 3 minutes. When I import the same animation to iCloud, it just takes 5 minutes to import. So there must be an issue with these kind of animations with Unreal Engine. I hope there will be a solution for that in the future. Next is timecode. Let's say you have multiple clips like different camera angles of the same scene, also known as a multicam clip. If you want to sync these clips, you render it out with Unreal Engine in your video editing software, let's say DaVinci Resolve. You need timecode to do the synchronization because we have no audio track to sync our tracks. To get timecode into Unreal Engine is a complicated process. But to get timecode rendered out within Unreal Engine is close to impossible. The feature is in development since I know Unreal Engine, but there's no public progress since then. So I would be more than happy to see improved timecode capabilities in Unreal Engine and finally be able to work with timecode and Unreal Engine. Because right now I have to sync everything manually in DaVinci Resolve, and depending on the material, this can take days instead of seconds. I was hoping for Unreal Engine 5. Okay, maybe it's not too late. I at least still have some hope that timecode improvements will make it into Unreal Engine 5. But the biggest downside right now to use Unreal Engine 5 for VTubing and filmmaking is not caused by Epic Games. And it's clear that this is the case because Unreal Engine 5 is only out in early access. The thing is, 90% of software you need to use beside Unreal Engine if you want to make VTuber videos is not compatible with Unreal Engine 5 yet. And this is what really makes me still use Unreal Engine 4. Because I don't want to complain about Unreal Engine 5, it's great. I love the new UI. I can see that there's a lot of potential when there's something like MetaNanet, and I can see there's a lot of progress when it comes to virtual humans. It's definitely exciting to see what the future brings, and I think we all agree that it's a great time to be alive. Instead of seeing the things that are not ready yet in Unreal Engine 5, I rather want to celebrate Unreal Engine 4. It's still incredible what you can do with this amazing piece of software, and it's free. And as of today, it's even completely free for filmmaking. So, what are you waiting for? Start making short movies, music videos, or VTuber videos using Unreal Engine. I have a free course for you. The link is in the description below. You will learn all the exciting stuff about filmmaking with Unreal Engine and get even some amazing looking characters and some of my animations for free. Thanks so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you in my free course.